Hi guys, alright, we're moving on to the half domes, and we're going to do this for this class period. We're going to create 3 of them. We're moving back to the poster board, and hopefully you still have enough sheets. I believe I asked you to get 8, so you should have enough for 3 of these before we move on. We might have to get some more of that during the second 9 weeks. I'm going to ask for fees, and then beyond that I'll provide it. So we're moving on to the poster board, and you already know how to create your circles. You're going to cut 3 circles. You're going to cut a large circle, a medium circle, and a small circle. Alright, when all your circles are cut, the next step is to find the center. In order to create a circle that's even, let's go ahead and pick a spot, and let's just turn this with the pencil. And actually, it's going to create a circle right there in the center that's going to be even around these. So that should be more or less an even space. It's not perfect, but I think it'll work. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to make 12 marks around this thing, like think about it like a clock. So here you have 12 o'clock, do 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 9 o'clock. Okay. Beyond that, do 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 7, 8, 10, and 11. That also doesn't have to be perfect. Just try your best. Alright, now what you're going to do, let me zoom in a bit so you can see a little bit more clearly. We made our circle inside, and again remember that we just held the pencil out to the end and we just turned it, and that made our circle inside. We made our lines like if it was a clock, 12 o'clock, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Now the next step is just to cut it. From all the lines that you made, you're going to cut right up to that line here. And maybe go even a little bit beyond it, just not too far beyond it. You do want these to be the same. You want them to end in the same spot. I'm getting pretty close. Don't get too close or else it's going to come apart. But I did get pretty far beyond my line, so I think that the smaller the circle inside, the better this turns out, but it's tricky. I mean, you run the risk of, you know, ruining the whole thing. So you end up with something like this. You're going to do that for your large one, your small one, and this is actually the small one. So it's pretty big for the small one. I'm gonna heat up my glue gun off camera, and then I'm gonna come back and explain the rest. Okay, while the glue gun is heating up, let me talk about how we're gonna treat this. I cut it maybe a little bit too close to the center, but you do want to start giving these some bend. The reason I say I cut it too close is because I'm scared that it's just gonna break one of these. But you want to start bending this before we actually bend it. Remember that this is the dome assignment, and you just want it to have some flexibility so it's not so rigid. I like to think of this almost like a satellite, and you'll see what I mean once it's put together. So think about it like that, you know. Bend all of these, make sure that they're nice and flexible, even around the edge, all of the edges, bend them like this, and that way we'll produce the best dome that we can make. I'm only gonna do this one because the rest are the same, just different sizes. So just bear with me while I give these a bit of flexibility. I haven't attempted this yet with regular paper. I think it would work. So if for whatever reason you run out of poster board, try it with regular paper. Let's see how it works. It's obviously it's not going to be as strong, but just for the sake of learning, and sometimes maybe you don't need it to have the strength, you know, if you're just doing it to add it to the sculpture, then that might be okay too. So give it a bit of flexibility like that. I left this glue gun on too long the other day. That's why the previous video it looked a bit dirty. I think it burned on the inside. I don't know if it's going to do the same thing this time. But we'll see. I'm going to check it out. I'll be back. The mold that we're going to use to try to make our domes are balloons. I bought some balloons. I was originally thinking about, maybe I spoke about it in class, about using those styrofoam balls. But those are really pricey, and this is just much cheaper, and it lets us control the size as well. So for the class, I'm going to have these water balloons, which are much smaller, and then I have these large black balloons, and you could blow them up to different sizes to make your different domes. And my glue gun isn't really working at 100%, but hopefully it'll be enough. So what we're going to do is we're going to wrap this around like this, right? And the catch here is you want to make sure that all of these are going in the same direction. Again, think about a satellite. So if this one is over this one, let's glue that one first. I haven't checked if the heat will actually pop the balloon, but I'm sure it will. So just be careful, you know. We'll see if it pops during this video. If it does, you know, just grab another one. So like I was saying, if that one is over that one, you want to make sure that it follows the pattern. So the next one should be over, it shouldn't be under. And if you do that, if you do it that way all the way around, it should end up okay. And it's a bit awkward here in the beginning. Let's try to get this right. I think I could just continue this off camera. For this particular one, I think I cut it too close, like I said before. Just make sure that they start to fall, you know, one under the other. And I'm gonna continue that off camera, and I'll come back with the complete product. Okay guys, I'm back. Just focus this. I finished my dome. It didn't come out quite the way I was expecting it to, because it came out too wide. So I'm gonna try again with my medium dome, because I want it to be more like a half circle. The reason I want it to be a half circle is possibly to get a full circle if it's needed. Even though I think a full circle, I don't think we'll need a full circle. Nothing that maybe a balloon can't take the place of, or maybe the styrofoam ball. But I'm gonna go ahead and try again. I'm gonna do a bit off camera, and then I'll come back on camera to try something different. Okay, here we are with the medium sphere, or half dome, whatever you want to call it. This was the first one. I think this is a failure. I wanted to be more of a half dome. This is kind of like, I don't even know what to call it, but it's not really round enough. It is a dome, but that's not what we're looking for. So this is the first one that I attempted, and I'll keep the steps for that. I may erase the final product showing. So I tried again with the medium one, and we're just going to try something a little bit different. And what we're going to try to do is very tricky, like we're going to try to put the hot glue directly on the balloon. What's gonna happen, I'm not really sure, but let's give it a shot. Actually, I'm gonna put it on the paper, And then maybe once it cools down a bit, then I'll feel more comfortable putting the balloon there. And you don't want to just slam it on there. You want to put it on softly. If this pops, I tried it on the smaller balloon, it didn't pop. There, that's not too bad. So it didn't pop. And the reason that I'm doing that is just to try to hold it in place. So I feel like it wasn't enough of a dome because I was trying to control it with my hands, and that just made it really awkward. So like this, it'll definitely hold in place, and now we don't have to worry about it. Now we can start putting it. But I'm already noticing that this is still just going to be a half dome. So maybe this size balloon would be good for the larger dome. So I'm gonna let a little bit of the air out of this thing carefully. If you see me have to start over, it's probably because it popped, but I'm gonna try to make a hole over here and just let a little bit of the air out, and then I'm gonna tie it back up. I'm gonna do that off camera. Okay, it's almost down to where I want it. It just occurred to me that some of you might overfill your balloons, and I only have 2 for you, which is the small one and the big one. So this changes the requirements a bit for the assignment. Previously I had 3 half domes. Maybe I'll still keep it at 3, but only 2 with an actual balloon. You could experiment with the other one just without a balloon, just to see how it goes. But it just occurred to me that some of you might make the same mistake I did and just put too much air in it. What I did is I held it like this and I bit into this, so it created a little hole, and that's letting me let air out. And you hold it and the air goes out slowly, and then when I'm done or whenever I'm happy, I'm just gonna tie another knot here at the end, and that's gonna stop the air from coming out. And that's how I'm letting the air out of this balloon, just in case you have to do the same thing. Alright, I finally got it to a size that I feel comfortable with, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to start just tapping it, putting a little bit of hot glue in the corner and putting it together in the corner. Like I said before, I hope this doesn't pop. And I am going to put a little bit of hot glue because I want it to hold to the balloon. I want it to really have that half dome feeling. Wait till the glue cools a little bit. I can't promise you this isn't gonna pop. Like I said in the beginning of the year, this is very experimental even for me. And I looked for the best ways to make domes out of paper, and the truth is there really is no easy way. So this is probably the hardest thing we have to do. Luckily, I think that there are ways around it, so I don't feel like we really need it. But inevitably there may be times when it's necessary. So you're going to tape the paper first, and then put a little bit of glue on the paper to glue it to the balloon. I don't know how much heat these balloons can take, but I really hope this doesn't pop on me. I'll test it on camera, how much heat it can take, right when I'm done with this. So I'm going to keep doing this off camera and just gluing them down, gluing it to the paper first and then gluing it to the balloon, and we'll see if that gives us a better result at the end. So I'm about halfway through, and I think this is producing a much better result. And the reason being that once we glue it to the balloon, the distance changes between the slots, allowing it to maintain a very dome-like appearance. So I'm just going to continue, and I feel really happy with this one. I think this one is going to be a good result. The way you get that result is just by flattening it against the balloon, and don't try to make these spaces the same. Just make sure that it falls as far as it can go, and that's good. Like, try to get the equator of the balloon, or try to keep this line going. No matter how much in or how much out you have to place it, and I think that's going to give you a good result. So you see, I finished that one, and I'm moving on to the next one, still trying to keep that line going. And I am putting a little bit of glue like this. So far the balloon is holding up. You'd think that it would melt the rubber, and it might. We'll do that test at the end of this video, where I'm just going to put a bunch of hot glue on a balloon, see if it pops. Takes time, you already know that. So it takes a little bit of extra time to adhere to that rubber. So let's continue trying to keep that equator line straight. Ooh, that's hot. A few pieces left. Let's see. So, put a little bit there, flatten it against the balloon. Put some hot glue here. Sorry, very off video. Flatten it against the balloon. And now for our last piece. And go ahead and flatten that to keep your dome. That last piece is very important because I'm guessing this is the piece that determines how wide the whole thing is. It has it's a big deciding factor in how tight everything is. So for this particular one, like I said, I just want it a bit tighter. So I'm gonna stretch it a bit and I'm gonna put it on that way. And it's gonna stick up at the end over here a little bit, but don't concern yourself with that. We could just cover that up later. Or we could fix it. I'll show you how to fix it if it's sticking up at the end. And that is it. At the end, we do want to separate this from the balloon. Can we do that without popping the balloon? We're about to find out. I don't think so. Maybe. And the balloon popped. So if the balloon popped, that's fine. We were gonna do that anyways. So remove the balloon and we should be left with a nice dome. And we're left with this dome, which I think is great. You can fold the edges in a little bit. And we got a good dome. Next assignment, I want to make a sphere. So for this class, we're going to do 3 of these. One that you're going to just experiment and you're going to do by hand, by connecting these corners without a balloon. And then we'll use the balloon like we did just now. Now, for the experiment to see if the hot glue will pop a balloon, let's find out. So far it seems to hold up pretty well, not popping. So the heat isn't going to pop it from the glue. Maybe the heat from the actual gun. You got to be careful not to press it too tightly. That's pretty cool. And that means that we could probably do more with balloons, which is great. Alright guys, half dome done. I expect that you'll get one like this, maybe the one that you do freehand, and I'll see you in class.